Ohio State wrapped up its spring practice today with its spring game right here in Ohio Stadium. This recap is presented by Schaffner's Drive-In in Baltimore, Ohio. This is a great place to go ahead and take your family. It's a great place for date night. Anytime you need any ice cream, food, a family environment, this is the place to go. It's a nice scenic drive right up 256 into Old Town Baltimore. You will be happy that you went to go visit Schaffner's and get some delicious ice cream, black raspberry, mocha, vanilla, all the flavors and the fixins to go ahead and get you set. But Ohio State finished spring ball today with the spring game here in Ohio Stadium, and this is what we learned. Now, the offense was a little bit shorthanded today, so missing a handful of offensive linemen, missing a lot of running backs. So when you're looking at Ohio State, it was pretty difficult to get a true gauge and read on what this offense can be. But there were some bright spots for you, and that starts and ends with Tavien St. Clair. I mean, just a full stop on Tavien St. Clair, just seeing his potential. He's a Bell Fountain kid, and the future of this Ohio State quarterback room is bright. We know that Julian Sayin has the quarterback position locked down. I'm sure Twitter may enter a little bit of controversy here saying, could he even jump Julian Sayin? I don't believe that that is likely, but Tavien St. Clair got to show off his arm today, and we know that he has a big arm, and Chris Henry Jr. was the beneficiary of that 2 times. He had a couple plays right down on the far side of the field there. He did catch that 40-yard touchdown as well, and when you're looking at a guy like Chris Henry, who is a true freshman, how is he going to flash? What plays is he going to make? You know, him and Brock Boyd have continued to get a ton of buzz all throughout the entire spring. But seeing him perform on the field today, Chris Henry as a true freshman receiver, was really nice to get the flash going. But also, Tavien St. Clair had a nice deep ball to David Adolph, too, right over Cam Calhoun. Just put the ball right in his breadbasket, just dropped it right in there. Just a great throw from Tavien St. Clair. Just seeing his progression continuing to develop. Ryan Day talked about in his postgame, there's a lot that comes with being the quarterback at Ohio State. So this is definitely an area for him to see, you know what, all right, we got meaningful snaps. He played extensively in this spring game for Ohio State. And Justin Martin, you know, he got some reps as well. Julian Sayin got some. And then we had a handful of other guys that were just in the rotation for Ohio State today at all different positions. Ohio State was trying a lot of different things. But when you're looking at a guy like Tavien St. Clair and seeing his development to this point and then thinking, okay, now he has a summer and then another season, and then he's in line to be the starting quarterback for Ohio State next year, you feel pretty confident like that when you're looking, all right, Julian Sayin's going to move on. Tavien St. Clair has this room in good hands. And then again, Chris Henry flashing. Brock Boyd didn't do a ton in the game today, but we did see a lot from him in spring practice. So he's going to find his way onto the field just like Chris Henry will. When that happens, we don't know. The impact, we also don't know. But the potential is there for them to come in and make the game feel their presence. And that is one of the big takeaways that you see from this entire spring from those Ohio State wide receivers. We know that Jeremiah Smith in year 3 is going to be completely outstanding. He's the best player in the country. We know that Brandon Inniss is going to start as well, and he needs to get a little bit better when it comes to his get off and his release off of the ball. But Brandon Inniss, Jeremiah Smith, they've been Buckeyes for a while. You look at what Devin McEwen and Kyle Parker looked like today. Devin McEwen was still in the game late today. Both of those Buckeyes flashed. Ryan Day said they looked like total pros from the moment that they got here. So getting to show that on the field today was really nice for the two of them, getting them meaningful reps, and then also going against a really vaunted secondary that has had its way in the last couple of days here. Devin Sanchez looks like he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten, potentially the entire country. We don't want to speak too big yet of what Devin Sanchez could be this year, but he's certainly showing the signs that he's progressing and developing well, which is what you want to see if you're on the outside looking in, if you're a fan of, but especially if you are a coach and a teammate of Devin Sanchez. You want to see him continue to progress because you've got Earl Little, who's on the backside coming in as a transfer, Terry Moore coming in as a transfer. You also have Dominic Kelly, who has flashed and is definitely going to find his way onto the field as well. He has had a really strong spring. And then you have Jermaine Matthews coming back. So lots of options for Ohio State on the backside of that defense. And they've been in a position battle all spring long with those wide receivers. And we know the talent that's in that wide receiver room. And for the defensive backs to be talked about as much as they were, that is an encouraging sign as well for this Ohio State defense that really has to replace a lot of NFL talent. 4 first-round draft picks are going to be replaced on this defense. Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, Caden McDonald. How do you replace all of that talent? Earl Little, bringing him in from Florida State, bringing Terry Moore in from Duke, Dominic Kelly from Georgia. That is a way to go ahead and do that. Can you do it in the aggregate? What is the way that it happens? They're showing that they can hold their own out there and they can elevate. And when your recruits and your players that were already here take that step forward and then you hit on guys in the transfer portal, that's what you want to see. And that's why talent development, yes, it's important, but so is talent acquisition and being able to identify that talent. And no program does that better than Ohio State right here with Mark Pantoni and that entire staff. So they do an outstanding job, and it's evidenced by the field or the play we're seeing on the field. Now, you may have wondered why Earl Little was not in the game today. Ryan Day did say that he had a minor procedure on his knee just to clean it up. He's going to be back in a couple of weeks, so that was something that was notable from today, as Ohio State had a ton of guys miss this game. They were down 4 running backs, down a couple of offensive linemen, the linebackers that they were short, and then now to add Earl Little to that list, it just feels extensive. So, yes, it's hard to get a full read on what this Ohio State team can and will be, but that's why you have spring practice. It's better to do it now than to have those procedures later, as Ryan Day said, and as everyone would have it make sense. So, looking at this Buckeye team, yes, you're seeing a lot of things that were encouraging for you, but also the spring game maybe wouldn't have told you as much as you would have thought. It was pretty vanilla from that sense. What would we see from Arthur Smith's offense? We're certainly going to see more play action pass, and that was in there today. But again, how does that translate when the ones are fully on the field, when the offensive line is fully healthy? Because the defensive line certainly had their day, as the entire defense did. It seemed like every other minute you looked up once the ones got out of there after that first and second drive, you're like, okay, you know what? The defense is making plays time and time again, just continuing to do really, really well in Matt Patricia's system. He's back for year 2. So again, that's more encouragement for Ohio State too. But favorite key, Jacoby Jackson, they got to see the field today, and they got to have the lion's share of those carries because Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, Legend Bay, Anthony Turbo Rogers, all those guys were out today. So it's nice to have those pieces deeper in the depth chart to go ahead and get on the field in meaningful reps. But again, that room's going to be fully healthy. And Carlos Lachlan, once he has those guys fully healthy, this room's really expected to be good. So seeing how that happens in the workouts in the summer, and then once we're back here for fall camp, there's going to be a lot of buzz around that running back room. So make sure that you're staying tuned to that. And then again, just looking at Julian St and what he's done as a quarterback, we saw him use his legs. I think on that first drive, he runs in for a 4-yard touchdown, and now there was a debate here where Julian St got him popped. He said in his post-game press conference, 100% I'm scoring. So if that was fully live, what would have happened? We won't know. But Julian St credited with a touchdown, and he believed as the quarterback at Ohio State, he's going to score, and he has to lower his shoulder. He has to use his legs to extend plays. Very encouraging signs of what you want to see from Julian St, who needs to take that step forward and has all the tools and traits necessary to do that. Ryan Day said he has been doing that. Now, what can you do to take it to the next level? You have to make sure your pocket presence increases. You have to make sure you're executing on play action pass, but also having your legs as a weapon is going to be vital for Ohio State this year from the quarterback position. Now, Julian St can do that. Maybe Tavien St. Clair looks a little bit more mobile than he does, but Julian St is the starter, and he's showing the willingness right there to use his legs. He's going to have to do that. That's going to be a theme that you're going to see this year, especially in the early game against Texas down in Austin. So a ton to take away from the spring for Ohio State. Today in the spring game, maybe not as much as we learned in the 14 practices prior, but still some encouraging signs for Ohio State as they're trying to piece everything together. 51 new faces. It's difficult to just go ahead and get right into it with that many new players. You have to learn how to practice. You have to learn your identity, your personality. All those things are starting to come together for Ohio State. So by the time we're back here in fall camp, this team's going to have progressed a little bit more, and you're going to see the camaraderie, the relationships that have been built, the trust that's been built as well, learning the playbook, learning the system, working out, getting bigger, stronger, faster. All those things are going to continue to take shape for these Ohio State athletes. And this is going to be a really good on-field product in 2026. But a lot of those question marks that you may have are not answered yet. But once this time comes to get to fall camp, they certainly will be. But again, there's been flashes, there's been encouragement, good things to take away from this Ohio State spring game. Again, my name is Blake Biscardi with the Silver Bulletin, and this has been our spring practice and spring game recap for you live from Ohio Stadium.